And the biggest problem that we have to keep in place is desperate poverty, because desperate poverty drives the vast majority of crime. So all these people employed in the justice industry, the criminal industrial complex, and all this, jailers and clerks, judges, attorneys, whatnot, they all depend on desperate poverty driving crime so that they are made relevant. The same with dubious war, the same with the national debt and individual debt, the same with the social welfare industry. Do you understand the predicament we're in? How we're in a lot of trouble now? And then capitalism gets framed when we've had nothing but anti-capitalism since JFK was assassinated, since the frogs were plunked in the pot and they kept turning up the heat. And we just got a critical mass of people running the show, of evil people. So we're in a lot of trouble here, and we've got to get it. We've got to be empowered and go out and empower other people, and be brave and courageous and be willing to die for the cause, fighting this good fight for righteousness. Because those that hunger and thirst for righteousness to be the rule of the day upon the earth, they're the ones that are going to be filled. And you don't want people going inadvertently to hell because they missed the mark. They weren't all in. You understand? With God, say, God, correct me, put me on a short leash, and shape my opinions about stuff, my beliefs. Because I know perception is reality, and the only perception I want is the one that you give me. So he'll do it for you. He'll help you to cope and contend with this incredible paradox, this stress and pressure that we're all under. How do we deal with this thing? I mean, it's a huge, profound quagmire that we're all immersed in. And that's why, in order to be free, we've got to be free from the money masters of misery. Okay, otherwise you're not absolutely free. So if you want universal absolute freedom for everybody, that's a good sign that your heart is pure, that you're on the right track to being found worthy and deserving of going to a better world from here. You've got to be idealistic. You've got to believe in equality. You've got to want the best for everybody, even your enemy. I mean, love your enemy. It's not a typo, friends. It's great. That's very empowering. Do you understand how that's freeing? You see, because if you're hating your enemy, they're living in your head. They're bringing you down. You understand? They're making you less of, you're not free as long as they're living in your head and you're living with hatred. You understand? What you think is natural, instinctive. Oh, of course I hate my enemy. What do you think? I'm foolish? No, you've got to at least try. And when you fail, you've got to admit it and understand what's going on. I mean, you might be called on to kill your enemy, but it'll be spontaneous. It won't be premeditated with malice aforethought. Do you understand? So I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm a pacifist. I hate violence, but that doesn't mean I catch some pedophile molesting a child. I'm not going to break his neck if I catch him, or some guy, beating up a woman or raping a woman, hurting a woman, that I'm not going to break his neck. It doesn't mean that. If you catch him in the act, if you don't, then they get due process, right? But you understand what I'm saying here, that it's very natural for us to want to pull a Moses occasionally. That's, spontaneously. So there's no, you didn't murder, you killed somebody, but it was like Moses killing the cruel slave driver. It wasn't what you wanted to do, but it just happened in the act of your righteous fury, which was a beautiful thing that you protected. You understand? It's something a man really understands. I don't know how many women can really wrap their minds around this idea. But there's a lot of women out there, too, that would be willing to mete out justice in protection of innocents, children and other women and innocent men. So, a lot of law enforcement females out there that, that's their job to do that. So, anyhow, this is a big deal, understanding how we've got to spend time ruminating, contemplating, pondering, using our God-given imagination, our power of thought, to imagine an ideal world and how different it'll be from this world that we're in right now, the world that we want. All those things that we would take away. Be very clear with yourself about that. And all those things that you might add. And how it would be. Because the chances are, if you turn to God to shape your beliefs, your opinions, your views, it's the same as his. Okay, so anyhow, friends, listen, I am going to move on a little here. Because I wrote a speech about this, and then I decided to wing it and just and just start talking about this stuff. But I think I've covered this pretty much about, this, contending with this schism of this unreality and how difficult it is and how we've got to have empathy for each other and care. And remember, we're all selfish, but understand when you care about others and you lift them up and exalt them and let them know that they're God's precious treasure, it doesn't get better than them. Believe it or not. I mean, as low down as they might feel, as small and lowly as they might feel, because of the training that you're just another warm body, do the earth a favor, go take your own life. It's not true. And it's our job to tell them. So that's being selfish, believe it or not, is by being selfless, building people up, exalting them. It has nothing to do with ego or vanity or conceit, but everything to do with self-esteem and understanding God's values and how we've got to learn to make our values His values. Well, we learn what His values are. They're us. That's what it's all about. You and me, us being happy, finding happiness, knowing who our parents are, empowering each other. And we work together here. We walk this path together because of our inextricable interconnectivity. It's the only way it's ever going to work, is giving a damn, caring, loving your fellow human being. Yes, and even your enemy. And we're all individuals. We're all going to have individual issues. And any therapist, counselor, psychiatrist, they're all individuals too, pastors. So they've got their individual problems, and they're not going to understand fully your individual problem. Only God can do that. We've got a collective unreality to contend with, and we've got an individual unreality we've got to contend with. And above all, what I learned day by day, more and more, it's reinforced. We need God. We need God. We need God. I cannot say that or emphasize that fact enough. It's the only thing that's going to get any of us through, to succeed, to be able to be found worthy and deserving of going to a better world from here. And that's what I want above all else. Because I could say it's negative and it's still descending, and it is. Okay, these evildoers will push and push and push, and they've got it down to a science. They think they can avoid a bloody revolt and all this, but look what they've done with minimum wage. Look at this. It's absurd. The cost of living keeps going up, and the Labor Department is obviously deliberately remiss in giving adequate, commensurate, proportional, equivalent cost of living adjustments. It's not even close. And this has happened year after year, decade after decade. They've done this. Frogs in the water. You see what they've done? You've got to care about minimum wage workers. They're doing jobs that are absolutely crucial, essential to the welfare of society. Who is society? You are society. I am society. Do you understand? Look around at your house and see all the stuff that was made in a factory about minimum wage workers, maybe in China, Mexico, Vietnam, America. Okay? Do you understand? And you're going to stand before God someday and reconcile it. You understand how you could be off track because you just don't care enough? You just don't love enough? You just don't recoil from the evil in this world and this phony pseudo paradigm that's been shoved down our throats from birth to say somehow this makes sense, turning supply and demand on its head. And even when it comes to the labor, I mean, you can learn so many jobs quickly overnight, but you got the colleges and universities, it's a buy-in program, really. They're running it like a quasi-business because they're getting subsidies from the government. So this whole thing is a setup. There's all these colluding special interest groups ganging up on the masses and saying, hey, you're nobody, unskilled labor, just suck it up, go get some welfare if you're hard up, ask for help, die out in the cold. I don't know, it's not my problem, it's your problem. You're weak, you're stupid, you should have done what I did, you're on drugs, you're on alcohol, you've got mental problems. That's how people rationalize it, and they get you out of it. But they're on the highway to hell. You understand? And I don't want anybody's blood on my hands or head, so I have an obligation, a duty, just like you do. A responsibility. These aren't just rights of free speech. These are what you've got to do as a good, decent, upright human being that wants to find his way into a better world, this place we call heaven, a better realm, this place we call paradise. Okay, because this is an eternal quest that we're going to grow. We're going to evolve forever. You're going to be more and more godlike, day after day, year after year, for all eternity, if you're on the right track and help to bring other people on that right track so that they can understand how they could be off just a little bit. that their hearts are just a little bit impure, but it's enough to keep them from heaven, from a better world. And so where do they go? They go to that place that's run by those people that say, hey, I'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven. The hypocrites. These are the ones that Jesus really went off on over and over again. They want one standard for themselves and another standard for others. So you're going to be stuck there with those kind of people that are running the world and creating the policies the masses have to live under, not because they're better, smarter, or anything else, more moral or ethical. No, quite the contrary is often true. It's because they're meaner at the very top. So you got all these people that are just lemmings that go along with the program, say, well, it's a path of least resistance, and somehow I make sense of it in my mind. I reconcile it, I rationalize it. Somehow it all makes sense, but it doesn't. We're all of equal value. That's it. So you can't say because you're educated that you're so important that the world's going to come to a grinding halt if something happens to you uber educated people out there. That's just stupid on its face. It makes no sense. You understand? Especially in light of the fact that things keep going down the tubes. Things keep descending for the regular everyday people. Just regular everyday people, often common, uneducated people that are essential to the welfare of society. It's inarguable. It's a fact. So you're going to turn your back and say, well, it hurts my head. It's not my problem. I can't think about minimum wage workers. They should do what I do. And so that's it. If everybody did what you do, that's the answer. So we all do what you do. Think about it. No matter what profession you have, would that work? If everybody did exactly what you do for money, for a living, for your bread? How's that again? Make some sense. So tell me something logical. Okay, that's not the way it works. So we've really got to be ruthlessly honest with ourselves, because I believe we are born masters of self-deceit. So we can fall into this trap of ending up on the highway to hell and being oblivious to it. We don't even know. Okay, but that's it. You've got to just hunger and thirst to live in a place where no man can gain an advantage over another man. And no man is there in that place that wants to get an advantage over another man. And this has everything to do with money, because that's what it's all about in this realm, is that money gives you an advantage over other people, does it not? It's a huge advantage. It's a satanic advantage. And you've got to get it. Okay, you've got to confess that you're a money lover. God already knows. What do you think? He's stupid? You think you don't love paying your bills, keeping a roof over your head, keeping food on the table, taking your girl out for dinner? Okay, I mean, you can lie to the whole world, including yourself, but you can't lie to your maker, to your owner, to God, to your divine parents. It'll never work. So please try to explain to people this beef I have with the Labor Department and how this is the way the bankster class, the thieving class, has stolen our labors. They say time is money. Well, that's people's time and labor. It's immoral. It's wrong. It's unethical. It's called oppression. Okay? And that's what they're doing. And this is what is very unsettling for me, is to watch this unfold for these decades. This is why I say I'm waiting with bated breath for the worm to turn, okay, is because I hate injustice. And to me, it's very unjust. And like I said, for many decades, I haven't worked for minimum wage. But I did many jobs for minimum wage or even below when I worked on a dairy farm in Connecticut when I was 15. So I get it. But there's a reason why they came up with a minimum wage. It was so that labor was respected, so that everybody could have dignity. And they weren't working for chicken feed or peanuts by unscrupulous masters, bosses, employers. Okay, and it's very wrong. It's all math. The Labor Department can calculate the cost of living, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. Okay, so they know if the cost of living is going up or down. They could give pay decreases if your cost of living is going down, like it would under capitalism, supply and demand. And the reason for that is because we find easier and easier ways, methods of producing, of supplying all the things we want and need. Do you understand why Wages could have gone down, but be worth more in terms of buying power. So this is a two-way street. All I'm saying is that it's immoral, it's wrong, that they've created this great wealth imbalance, and they're creating more poverty, more and more need for the social welfare system. A good, steady, healthy crime rate is produced. The national debt just steadily keeps growing, right?